Thanks for joining us. I'm Tamika Alexander. We begin tonight with budget cuts and how it could affect your local state park. In tonight's top story, WVUA's Travis Hoover joins us live in the studio with the latest on what park directors may do to meet budgets.
Thanks, Tamika. Unfortunately for the state park system, possible cuts would eliminate any extra state funding and make the parks exclusively rely on its own revenue, which will not be sufficient enough to maintain its services.
We're just unsure right now what the loss of our funding is going to do to us, and we're concerned about the quality of the services that we can offer to our guests that come to the state parks.
And some say less funding concerns them, as Lake Lurleen is one of the only state preservations in West Alabama.
It's one of the few areas that is preserved as a state park in the Gulf Coastal Plain in this part of the state. So that's important, like I said before, for wildlife and environmental reasons.
Park managers say it's unlikely the park will shut down, especially during warm weather months, but the park may not stay open year-round.
I don't think anyone's going to lock the gates at Lake Lurleen, but we may close in the wintertime. We may have staff reductions, and that will lower the quality of the guest experience when they come.
People still enjoy park services during the winter, and they want to see it stay that way.
I've always enjoyed this park, and I hope it continues to be a good place to come and visit and stay, or just come for a couple hours. And I enjoy coming here at all times of the year.
Park managers say if Lurleen doesn't see increased funding, they may have to ask local governments for help.
If we have to close in the winter, yeah, it's going to definitely be, it's going to have an impact. It's going to have an impact on the economy for people that come, that shop in Northport and Tuscaloosa County. So it'll have an outreaching effect.
Now, Governor Robert Bentley is weighing in on the state park's funding problems. He is encouraging the state legislature to approve a bill allowing a private company to build a convention hotel at Gulf State Park in Gulf Shores. Tamika.
Thanks, Travis. A lawyer for the city of Birmingham says the sign that killed a 10-year-old boy and injured his family was not inspected before the accident. WVUA's Victoria Sheehan has been following this story and has more. Victoria?
That's right, Tamika. A lawyer from Birmingham is saying that a large cabinet housing the flight information monitor that toppled and killed 10-year-old Luke Brissett was not inspected after installation. The monitors were installed in a recent $201 million upgrade at Birmingham's airport. Now, Assistant City Attorney Steve Stein says the monitor display didn't require inspection under municipal code because it wasn't a structural component of the building. He says the unit was a freestanding cabinet housing video monitors that rested on the floor, something similar to a home entertainment center. Now, the child's mother and a brother remain hospitalized with their injuries. The family was returning home to Overland Park, Kansas after a beach trip to the Florida Panhandle.
In your home team Crime Watch, a Uniontown man has been sentenced to life in prison. 31-year-old Lamar Montrell Williams was sentenced on charges of manslaughter, attempted murder, and assault in an early morning shooting that happened March 20th, 2011. Now, that shooting left one person dead and 4 others wounded when Williams opened fire outside a hotel. Williams was found guilty in November of 2011 and was sentenced as a habitual offender because of 2 previous assault convictions stemming from a 2006 shooting. In Huntsville, a woman driving in the wrong direction has died after hitting a police officer's vehicle head-on. The incident happened on Interstate 565 in Huntsville early this morning. The police officer has been treated and released from the hospital. Well, tax season is here, and April 15th, that deadline is fast approaching. Tax experts say their advice is to avoid procrastination and get organized before filing. Last year, the Alabama Department of Revenue processed more than 1.8 million individual tax returns and issued about $519 million in refunds. And for the first time this year, Alabama taxpayers can get their refunds on a prepaid Visa debit card instead of a direct deposit or check by mail. And speaking of taxes, a recent report by the Nonpartisan Congressional Research Service says taxpayers spent nearly $3.7 million on former presidents and widow Nancy Reagan in fiscal 2012. The money went to everything from postage to travel. Of the 4 living presidents, George W. Bush spent the most at about $1.3 million. Jimmy Carter spent the least at a little more than $500,000. The funds are part of an allowance created in 1958. Switching gears to the weather, let's get a first check on Alabama's home team forecast. Chief Meteorologist Richard Scott joins us now. Hey, Richard, another chilly night out there tonight.
Yeah, pretty cool out there tonight. Tamika, temperatures back in the 30s now, 37 officially in Tuscaloosa, 39 downtown Birmingham, and low 40s showing up for York, Linden, Marion, Utah, Brent. Also checking in those low 40s, between about 40 and 41 there. Notice over there's satellite radar composite across the southeast. The cloud cover is getting out of here now, and our forecast tomorrow will include a drier, warmer day. Sunshine returns in full force tomorrow. It's still going to be a cool day, but it's going to be a tad warmer, talking those upper 50s by 3 o'clock. Some areas south of Highway 80 could get up to 60 degrees tomorrow. We'll talk more about the forecast, plus a look at the weekend outlook. Weather is coming up.
A two-day showdown over same-sex marriage began in Washington today. The Supreme Court heard oral arguments on Proposition 8 approved by California voters that banned same-sex marriage in that state after courts had ruled they were legal. Tori Dunnan has more.
The fight over same-sex marriage makes its way to the Supreme Court. It's a case that will decide whether Proposition 8, a state ban on same-sex marriage in California, is constitutional, and the justices were ready with their questions.
If they're a class that makes any other discrimination improper, irrational, then why aren't we treating them as a class for this one thing?
You want us to step in and render a decision based on an assessment of the effects of this institution, which is newer than cell phones or the internet?
Lawyers representing the plaintiffs, two unmarried same-sex couples, stated their case.
And labeling their most cherished relationships as second-rate, different, unequal, and not okay.
On the other side, lawyers representing supporters of Prop 8.
We believe that Proposition 8 is constitutional, and the place for the decision to be made regarding redefining marriage is with the people.
Some of the justices seemed unsure the court should even be involved.
This case could be dismissed with essentially no decision, which would mean that same-sex marriage would become legal in California, but there would be no broader ruling for the rest of the country.
Outside, emotions ran high.
Can two women reproduce? Can two men reproduce?
They deserve equal rights.
With polls showing support for gay or lesbian marriage on the rise, the justices have an opportunity to make history on this divisive issue.
And as Dunnan reported, more Americans than ever are showing support for this issue, and more Americans than ever before say they have a family member or close friend who is gay or lesbian. Decades have passed since the Vietnam War, but it was not until recently the U.S. declared March 30th as Vietnam Recognition Day. WVUA reporter Lauren Woods shows us why we should still support those who served.
Names are found throughout Veterans Memorial Park, a tribute to those who served our country. But one group of veterans at first did not receive such honor.
The tenor of the American public back then was they were not in support of the war, and they were not in support of the troops that were over there.
Walter Turner served during Operation Desert Storm and Northern Watch. He says a welcome home now is important because they were not welcome then.
Vietnam veterans did not get the ticker tape parade when they came home. They did not get the pat on the back for a job well done. They got often vilified. Some were called baby killers.
Something veteran Ray Yateman says he remembers.
When I came back, I flew into Point Mugu, California, on a 141 transport ship. That was a big 4-engine jet. And we were greeted with rotten eggs and tomatoes, called baby killers and worse.
And even though it may be years later, Turner says it's not too late to show support.
We need to show them because they're no different than any other veterans from any other war we have. They went overseas and they fought and they sacrificed, and some never gave the ultimate sacrifice, that never have come back. They were killed.
We've had many people to stop us and shake our hands and tell them they appreciated what service that we did. But we, Vietnam veterans, we served with honor. They did. Had a bunch of fine folks. They were there to do a job that they were asked to do.
A job that served our country. Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Lauren Woods, WVUA News.
The Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Open House is set for this Saturday at the VFW Post in Condell. It runs from noon until 4. For more information, call the number on your screen, 205-553-8040. Welcome back. Progress is being made to improve animal control services in Tuscaloosa County. After a month in existence, the Alliance for Animal Welfare says it's already seeing improvements. WVUA's Jennifer Edwards has more.
Alliance for Animal Welfare Vice President Sherry Hassel says the group's main goal is to work with county leaders to get funding for animal control so jobs are performed efficiently. Hassel says after meeting with the head of animal control, Jim Patry, county commissioners, and sheriff's deputies, she's glad to be seeing improvements.
Mr. Patry had made excellent progress in animal control. He had covered the backs of the boxes so that the animals aren't exposed anymore. He has looked into getting equipment. He's hired a part-time investigator.
Hassel says although this is a step in the right direction, there's still work that needs to be done.
There is still more equipment needed, but the commissioners now have a list and they are working with Mr. Patry to try to get all of that equipment and bring animal control up to speed.
While the Alliance for Animal Welfare group continues to work with the county, Animal Control says if you come across a stray animal, there are some important things you need to remember.
Well, they should give us a call and where we can go and pick the animal up because we don't know if it's vicious or what. You don't really need to feed the animal because if it does, it's going to stay around your home. So call us as quick as possible when we can get out there and take care of it, get it to the shelter.
And investigator Vaughn says never go on private property to check on a stray or neglected animal. Reporting in Tuscaloosa County, Jennifer Edwards, WVUA News.
To report a stray or neglected animal in Tuscaloosa County, you can contact Animal Control Services at 205-349-3870, extension 225. A California family is fighting to keep their pet deer. They rescued the wild animal from the side of the road, but as Luana Munoz reports, officials say it is against the law.
Why are you sad?
Because I'm never going to see her again.
Meet Florecita. To the average person, she's just a deer, but to these folks, she's family. But soon, Fish and Game will take her away.
She's pretty much like my child. We raised her since she was probably 7 days old, because she had her umbilical cord attached to her.
The Cervantes family rescued her after they found her mother lying dead on the road. They took her as if she were their own and even fed her with a bottle.
So she's like the baby because we don't have any girls, so she was like the girl in the family.
She's a family member of this family, a very young family with very attached children that are learning the value of a pet and how you take care of them properly.
The doe runs free on the family's large property and is so close to the children, she follows them. Even neighbors have grown attached. But California law says it's illegal for the average person to keep a wild animal.
And if she hadn't been rescued, she would not be on this earth. She's had 2+ great years of really good care. And it just seems kind of sad that they get penalized for that.
Florecita will have to be trained, but will likely never return to the wild.
People pay for killing a deer during the hunting season, but I don't understand why can't we just keep her and get a permit to have it on our property. She's not doing anything bad to anybody.
Fish and Game officials say their intentions are to do what is in the best interests of the deer.